I'm Devin, and you're watching Hoops and Hops on Buffet Sports.
Uh, yeah. Okay, good morning, afternoon, and evening. It's the guy you should believe in. Dropping heat like every season. Underdog like Willie Beeman. Classic like Dom singing. Blasting like bombs ringing.
What's up? Feels like forever since we talked about basketball. I've said that so many times recently, I feel like with filming. I don't know why. Memorial Day sent me for a loop. I felt like it's felt like forever since we've done just like anything with the podcast. I'm out of rhythm a little bit. We're getting it back though. We're getting it back. The NBA Finals is in, let's see, when does the game officially start? 6:30? Just under 48 hours from now. We will have game one of the NBA Finals, the Boston Celtics versus the Dallas Mavericks. Straight away, I've got the Mavs, but we'll get into more um, broader, not broader, more specific predictions, how many games it's going to go to, how the series is going to play out, who's going to be important. But first, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite guys in this series because he's not going to get talked about. He might not even see the floor too much unless there's blowouts, which I think there could be a couple. We'll get to that. So I want to talk about this one of the guys in this series that just isn't going to get a lot of media attention. No one's going to talk about him. No one really talks about him to begin with, but he's one of my favorite players in the league. For no like there's a reason, but he's not a superstar. And he's not even, if we're like in JJ Redick's language, there's Batman, there's Robin, there's Alfred. He's not even, he's like the Batmobile. Like he's just there. Like he's usually in the bat cave, meaning the bench. But he's there. He's always ready to go. And he shows up to every game. He shows up to every fight, but he's not always a factor. So we'll get to him in a second. But there's been five like guys, I would say, random guys throughout growing up watching the NBA that I just had like an infatuation with for like they're not superstars, they're not all NBA guys, they're just guys that are like they're fun or they did something crazy once and they've just got a crazy highlight. Like the point is they're Jags. They're just another guy in the NBA. They're forgettable, but I will never forget them. Okay. And this guy that I'm talking about, I think is starting to enter that category, especially if we get a couple fun moments from him here in the finals. I think he'll definitely be in that group for me, but that list goes like this. Number one, Shannon Brown. Uh, If you don't know who Shannon Brown is, I highly encourage you go find yourself Shannon Brown mixtape. He played for the Lakers when Kobe and Powell was there with Lamar Odom. I believe he was a Sun for a little bit, and those are the two that like jump off the top of my mind. Just could absolutely jump out of the gym, streaky shooter to the point where like I think his career high like game for points. I think he has like six threes or something like that in that game, and it was just a wild game. And then he would have like two for the rest of the season. He's just a super fun player. He was that not he was before there was 3 and D, there was 3 and slash, and that was Shannon Brown. Um, so he was just a super fun player. The next one here, super random, another guard, Karan Butler. Does anyone remember Caron Butler on the Mavs? I think he played for the Knicks. Um, he was a dog at one point. He was kind of a dog. Um, I don't know who to really even compare him to. Caron Butler, if you don't know who he is, go look him up. He's got a decent mixtape. And he was always just a bench guy, but I just had an obsession. I don't know what it was. I think I found him in probably middle school for me. So that would have been what, like, I don't even know, but he was just fun to watch. I don't know what it was. Caron Butler. Number three, Pierre Jackson. Well, actually, two over Caron Butler, but these aren't really in order. Pierre Jackson. Um, Brother played for the Idaho Stampede when I first found him. I grew up in Idaho. And he played down in the Idaho Stampede. We're down in Boise. He's like 5'5". Pierre Jackson. Sick mixtape. Sick mixtape. He's a dog, absolute pure scorer. His G League highlights, where he played for the Stampede, are so raw. Like, go just that's another one. Shannon Brown, Pierre Jackson. I think he's like 5'5", 5'8", something in that realm. He's just an absolute dog. He had a couple 10-day contract stints in the NBA that were super fun to watch, from a fan perspective of him specifically. And yeah, just a super fun. Definitely go look up Pierre Jackson. The next one here is, we all know the name, but it's one year specifically that I think will kind of get lost in when we're looking at the 20 teens down the road. We'll kind of get lost because there was the KD controversy when he went to the Warriors, and the Bucks were trying to make trying to break through in the playoffs. Um, LeBron was still in the East, so he was, killing everybody there, taking that team to the finals. There was all the Kyrie stuff. So it's going to get lost in the 20 teens. And I don't know if we're really going to remember it, but I think about it at least once a week, and I find highlights from that year. Blake Griffin on the Pistons. I don't I have there's nothing more to say. If you watch basketball and got to see Blake Griffin's all NBA year, there was something special in the heart. And I really thought like we were gonna get to see like Blake Griffin blossom into a number one, or at the least like a two somewhere. The Pistons were like relatively good that year. And Blake Griffin was awesome. Obviously, he was all NBA. But I think that year is specifically is going to get lost, especially with all of his um, early Clipper Lob City highlights, where he's just, yamming on people. He was much more finesse and was doing, had a crazy handle and was shooting the rock in Detroit. That year is going to be lost in the history books, but it's a good one. And then our present day one, Peyton Pritchard. I don't know what it is. I love watching Peyton Pritchard. Whenever I turn on a Celtics game, or turned on a Celtics game throughout the year this year, I just loved seeing Peyton Pritchard, man. I don't know what it is. Like, it was so much fun to see Peyton Pritchard when he gets out on the floor. He's just like a little lightning bug, bro. Like, he'll come off the bench and give you 8 in like 2 minutes and then go sit down, right? Like maybe the games they're the the starters are out, so they put, Joe Mazzulla puts all the bench guys in, and the other team's starting to make a little bit of a run, and then Peyton Pritchard comes off the bench and says, hold that, here's 8 points and settle back down. And like, always calm, always cool, always collected, smaller guy, not the greatest defender, but definitely works on the defensive end. For his size, a really great finisher, and a great shooter as well. If he was bigger, uh, I don't know if he'd still be on the Celtics. He probably would be somewhere else. Like, he's a smaller Tyler Hero who plays better defense. That might be a hot take, but I think like that's a good comparison. He's a smaller Tyler Hero who plays better defense at his size. So if he was Tyler Hero's size, I think he would be better. Maybe that's biased. I just like watching Peyton Pritchard play. He's probably not going to play a ton in this series, but I've really enjoyed seeing him throughout the playoffs. That has been one highlight for me of watching these short blowout Celtics series, is getting to see a ton of Peyton Pritchard and just him be that spark lightning bug off the bench, and kind of the guy that you don't expect to be getting as much minutes as he does off the bench, but he does, especially with Porzingis out. They turn to him for scoring spark when they have one, either Jason or Jalen, and one of the other guards is sitting, or if the bench unit was just in and they needed to keep someone, have someone out there that can put the ball in the hole. So Peyton Pritchard's the last one there. Those are my 5 random guys that I really enjoy watching, that I've really enjoyed watching. Some good mixtapes if you're younger to go do some research on. Some nasty athleticism in that group. And if you are my age or you're a little bit older, those are some hoopers right there. Those are some hoopers. All right, so now let's talk about the actual NBA finals. Let's talk about the game itself. We got Boston versus Dallas. I said it at the open. I think Dallas wins this series. Um, I'm not surprised if it goes to 7. I think it's gonna go 6. I don't. I was about to say, and if it goes 5, I'm not surprised. I think Dallas pulls this out. Games wise, there's a world where I can see Dallas just coming out and stealing a game, in Boston, going back to Dallas and taking care of business, and then all of a sudden it's 3-1, and they head back to Boston for game 5, and they pull it out. I could see a world where that same scenario happens, but Boston gets a game and it's 3-2, goes to game 6, and then Dallas takes care of it on their home floor. I could see a series where the home team wins the whole way through and it comes down to game 7 on Boston's floor. So I just like I thought the Wolves were going to be here, and then I thought, okay, at least it's going to go more than 5 with the Dallas Wolves series. Is wrong about that. And then on the other side, I mean, the Celtics, they here's the picture for everyone that is. There's been a meme going around. This is from NBA Twitter of Luka's path to the finals versus Jason Tatum's path to the finals. So take that as you will. But yeah, I just at the end of the day, this is us. This is the NBA community right here. We're riding the Mavericks train. I don't care how many games it takes for them to get this done. I can't see Jason Tatum win an NBA championship. So I'm going to say 6. Dallas takes care of it on their home floor, and makes Mark Cuban reconsider, or I guess I don't know if the team is officially sold, but if it's not, certainly I don't know if he will once this is all over. But I expect Luka to obviously be Finals MVP. Probably going to average somewhere in the realm of, I'd say, like 30, 10, and 8 at the minimum. It's going to look like a LeBron stat line. Blasphemy, I know, but it's going to look like a LeBron stat line. I said it in the Dallas versus Timberwolves series. Whoever comes out of the West, I think, is going to win the finals. They're going to be battle tested, broken and beaten, but they're healthy. Boston can kind of say the same. We'll get to them in a second. Ultimately, long-term predictions here. I think Luka is going to be somewhere in the realm of 30, 10, and 8, 9, somewhere in that realm. Kyrie should be in the ballpark. I mean, guy should be 27, 26, 27, probably 5-5, somewhere in that realm. I expect PJ Washington to be lights out in this series. Started to kind of rebound as that Wolves series went on, and not physically rebounding, but rebounding in terms of his play. Um, Obviously, the centers, Daniel Gafford and Blake Lively. Derek Lively are going to be a huge storyline in this, because Porzingis is going to be allegedly is going to be healthy. Again, we're going to get to that in a second. And then I think an interesting one here is Derek Jones Jr. Whoever Derek Jones Jr. is going to end up playing and guarding, probably part of me thinks Jaylen Brown. From an athleticism standpoint, he can certainly stay in front of him. He gives up some weight to Jaylen Brown, but from an athleticism standpoint, he can certainly stay in front of him. I'm interested to see who he's guarding and who's guarding him on the other end. He's obviously very athletic. He's a slasher. He's developed into a better shooter. So can he tucker them out by just running around all the time and running the floor, more importantly, on the offensive end? And then can he handle his matchup on the defensive end? I'm not really sure what matchup he's gonna draw, but that'll be an interesting one. I'm interested to see who he ends up getting, and if he ends up starting, that's another question too. What the lineups look like. We talked a little bit about Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. We'll get to them more in a second. Those are my predictions for the Mavs. On the Boston side, I am not going to be surprised, and I don't think you should either, if Jason Tatum absolutely the bed. And I'm talking about the bed like 21, 7 and 7. And he's like, I'm playing my game. I'm trying to do what the team needs. No, the team needs you to score. I'm not surprised. When the best player in the series is on the other team or is healthy, Jason Tatum is nowhere to be found. When they are out or they're, hurt or they're sitting on the bench, all of a sudden Jason Tatum rises to an elite level. And to me, that's the telltale sign that he's not an alpha. He could be a one, but he's not an alpha. He's not the guy. He's not the guy you want with the ball at the end of the game, in my eyes. From the Celtics perspective, I don't think they care who has the ball in their hands. I'm sure Joe Mazzulla does, but you get what I mean. Everyone's kind of on a level playing field. Jason and Jalen are obviously above everybody in terms of skill, but when it comes to trust, it's a level playing field for Boston. That being said, talking about Jalen, I expect him to be somewhere closer to what Kyrie is going to be putting up 26, 27, 7 and 7, somewhere around there. He's going to be the lead dog in this, and Jason is probably going to be nowhere to be found again. Derek White, I have a feeling he's going to have a quiet series. Drew Holiday might have a louder series just because on the defensive end, he's going to play a big role. I think he's going to get the Kyrie matchup because Kyrie's such an elite perimeter scorer and creator. You're better off putting Jason Tatum on Luka, I think, in this scenario, and letting Drew take the better ball handler and Kyrie. I think that's the answer for them there. If they're, I think that's what we'll end up seeing. And that'll be a really fun matchup to watch Drew versus, one of the best perimeter defenders in the league versus Kyrie, the wizard, the artist, whatever you want to call him, the flat earthist. Uh, but that's going to be a super interesting matchup. Porzingis being back is huge. Now, what is back? Is he 75%, but he's able to play? Is he 80%? Is he 60%? What percentage is he at? What Porzingis are we going to get? Are we going to get aggressive Porzingis? Are we going to be, I'm still nervous about running into the, paint, so I'm going to just be outside? What Porzingis are we getting, basically? And that's going to play a huge role. Obviously, either Derek Lively or Daniel Gafford is going to be picking up Porzingis. It presents some problems for Dallas's defense because that guy can actually spread the floor. He's not Rudy Gobert. But at the same time, there's an advantage for Dallas because their centers are more physical. And if Porzingis is not 100%, they've rested him for quite a while. I said this when he got hurt. We might not see him for the rest of the postseason. It looks like we're going to. But if he re-injures or if he's at all nicked up, it's going to be a tough series for him because they are Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford are dogs. They do not back down from a fight, and they're scrappy and they're physical. And I don't think Porzingis will do well with that, especially if he's nicked up. I don't see him having a big series, maybe something in the realm like 15, 5, and 3, something like that. But I think the way Dallas plays and their ability to control the fourth quarter is going to be the Celtics' downfall because they don't have that sure thing guy that they're going to go to in the fourth quarter. It's kind of either whoever's got it going or whoever's bold enough to take the ball. That's not going to get it done. We saw that against the Timberwolves. Now, were the Timberwolves tired because, like what was it? Were they tired? Did we overestimate? Were they too young? Was Cat terrible? Like, was Cat good for a series and then bad? What was that? We don't know, and we won't really know until next year. I'm going to go on the assumption that Dallas was just better in the fourth quarter. When I watched those games, they were better in the fourth quarter. They executed, they controlled the pace. Every shot they made in the fourth quarter was important and was for a reason. So Dallas in 6. The Corgi says Dallas in 7. Corgi says Dallas in 7. I say Dallas in 6. We're all on the bandwagon. Please, Luka, save us from seeing Jason Tatum win a championship. We would, it would kind of be fun also to see Kyrie get another one, as well as against Boston. But we'll talk about that as the series starts to kind of go on what a championship for either of these teams means. But for now, those are the predictions. Um, we'll be back later in the week after game 1 probably to recap things. That's what primarily our content, from me at least, is going to be about this week, just covering the NBA finals. So with all that being said, I'm Devin and you are watching, oh gosh. So with all that being said, I'm Devin, and you're watching Hoops and Hops on Buffet Sports. If you want to see more of me or of our other shows, you can catch us on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at buffet.sports. We post every day, if not twice a day. Thursday is usually our day off, but there'll be a reaction vid this week for the NBA Finals. I'm making that promise. I will keep to it. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Ciao. Mavs in 6.